Good morning, everybody, and welcome to week 6 of GI and Sustainable Cities. And this week, we're going to talk about the economics of GI and how we try and place value on the environment, particularly when such things are quite intangible and there can be in conflict with other forms of investment or management. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to discuss the parameters of why we're trying to value nature and why we're trying to place an economic value on green infrastructure. Is this to allow us to provide a business case and develop a rationale for investment in nature, or is it because that's the way that development and management actually works, and that we have to be competitive in a field where the cost of a square metre of a house or floor space for apartments or office space actually has a monetary figure? So we'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll also discuss a few ways about how we actually value nature, be it through more traditional techniques such as economic pricing, or if we start to look at more cultural and perceptual understandings of the value of nature. And what this will do is this will throw up a number of the problems in terms of trying to value tangible things, so the physical infrastructure that we are talking about with GI, but also the more intangible things. So how do we put a value on health or well-being or aesthetics or the value of something for a cultural legacy? So we'll talk about these things in more detail on Thursday. And one thing that we will discuss is how we can look at GI in terms of its economic value within practice and within policy. So within both of these examples here, so the New York High Line and the Olympic Park in London, there were quite distinctive economic values placed on both of them, and we've touched on this previously in terms of particularly the High Line and its promotion of a more potentially inequitable form of use of that space. But we'll also look at how, say, the £9 billion investment in the Olympic Park has actually seen a return on investments for the public. So be it in terms of access to space, health and recreation, sporting facilities, the economic returns for local boroughs in terms of using the facilities for sport and recreation. And a lot of these different aspects, which might seem quite abstract from some of the more conceptual stuff we've talked about, but actually are incredibly important in terms of developing the rationale for why we might invest in green and open spaces. And one thing that we will talk about in this process is the ways in which the people who get to decide what we value and how they value things can shape or can divert the way in which the conversation goes. So the High Line is perceived to be a success because it brought more people into that part of New York. It's helped to regenerate the old meatpacking district and provide economic uplift for the apartments and the real estate there. But the way in which that has then actually started to exclude some of the former residents and former tenants could be seen as being a difficult outcome of that. So who decides on investment, who decides on what is actually valuable, can be quite contentious. And again, this will differ between different locations and different cultures. So how we react to the valuation of nature in the UK might be different from what we see in places like Holland or Germany, and will be different from how we view nature in the United States or elsewhere. So throughout the lecture, what we'll do is we'll reflect on why we might value nature, how we might value it, what economic values we can ascribe to GI, and then what the problems might be with this in terms of providing an inclusionary or exclusionary debate that can push nature into a very commodified sort of sense. Okay, so see you all on Thursday morning. Remember that we do have a guest speaker, Juliet Staples from Liverpool City Council, coming in the last hour of the session. But throughout the first couple of hours, we'll talk about why we need to and how we actually value GI. See you all on Thursday.